Welcome to HD Nation Tech Feed Edition, your guide to the best in HD content and the best in home theater gear, no matter what your budget is. I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Robert Heron.
Do you need to burn in your new HDTV? Blu-ray picks. Robert's got the ultimate HDMI switch. It's actually going to renovate your old AVR. It's DVDO's Quick6. But first, should we mention Microsoft's new Blu-ray player?
I'm excited. Xbox 720. Hey, more accurately, the leaked Microsoft memo Ars Technica posted. It says basically playing a Blu-ray disc, watching live TV, and yes, playing a single-player game should not require an always-on internet connection.
And this is pretty crazy, right? So there's a kerfuffle over always on, and the leaked response all of a sudden mentions television and Blu-ray. Is this legit? And can Microsoft build a PS3 competitor in the Xbox 720?
Oh, of course they can. The thing for me will be, how always on will it not have to be? Because that seems to be one of the key issues right now. Are the games going to be copy protected in a way that requires an always on?
Forget about games.
Used games and things like that. If truly they're creating an ecosystem where you don't need that always on connection.
Let go of always on. Is the PS3 still your reference Blu-ray player? Do you think
for video? Yeah, audio problems. I occasionally have a glitch with
Really?
older PS3s, but
okay. What about do you think the PS4 is going to be a superior Blu-ray player, or are they going to walk away from it?
It has to maintain that reference level quality, at least in terms of being updated regularly to support new features. And I imagine Microsoft, they've been a part of the DVD standards body for a long time. I imagine going into Blu-ray, they're really good about creating products that create excellent output. They have the capability of making a beautiful Blu-ray player. I imagine it will be. If they're going to put that capability in an Xbox, they're going to make it a darn good product. So I would expect nothing less from them. And I can't wait to see it, because odds are they're going to put a little secret sauce in there too, maybe for things like room audio correction or some other higher end features that you wouldn't expect in a console player. Those are some of the things I'm really interested to see if they incorporate that into the new Xbox, aka the 720 or whatever they're going to call it. So
we're going to know more May 21st. That's when Microsoft's going to hold their big event. By the way, there's a live event here at Revision 3. Pretty much everybody who's excited about the Xbox 720, which is pretty much everybody you watch in Texel and HD Nation and Tech Feed and Rev3 Games, are going to be involved, and we're going to dissect it live as they tell us what it is.
Is it yet another 4K source device? I think it might be. At least upscaling, if nothing else. I know the games won't be there, and let alone video sources are all over the place.
Maybe they will be there.
Maybe.
We wait with bated breath.
2 weeks.
We got an interesting question from @avidleaf on the Twitter. He tweeted @HD Nation @Robert Heron, just got the VT60. Is it still important for a break-in period for plasmas? If so, what content should be watched? @avidleaf, of course, is talking about the absolutely gorgeous Panasonic Viera 60 and 65-inch plasmas. It's kind of funny. So there's the VT, the ST, and the ZT. The VT is one step below the top of the line ZT, but costs half as much.
Just about.
The ST probably has 90% of the performance of the VT and costs somewhat less.
Totally.
Yeah, it's pretty, and they're all, the ST right now, rave reviews, everybody's getting their hands on it. Inky blacks, beautiful colors, great bright room performance.
And it calibrates well.
And cheaper than the ST. I mean, the ST is cheaper than the
ST is going to be your value model. Right. That VT is really kind of a step up. That'll incorporate things like your THX modes and other factory calibrated modes that give you good image quality. Now, that ZT model, that's coming out in a couple of months. Everyone's kind of waiting on that, because that represents the best of what Panasonic's doing for this year. But a brand new VT television is arguably one of the finest displays available right this very minute. And having a brand new one that you just unboxed, that's awesome. Anyhow, breaking in a brand new HD TV, well, the good news is that LCDs, they're pretty much good to go right out of the box. Now, CNET, they actually age all of their plasmas for about 100 hours before they begin testing. That's because the phosphors, the part that actually glows on the surface of a plasma screen, it pops a little bit more when they're brand new. Now, they're a little more reactive, you could say. Now, to get consistent and accurate calibration results, they'll age it for about 100 hours to take that edge off. Now, for myself, in terms of what content, if you're going to age your panel for 100 hours, which is only a couple of days, really, if you think about it.
Well, 4.
What? Exactly. So what kind of content should you view? Now, some people would say, oh, I'm going to have something that has lots of motion on it, like sports programming.
Right.
ESPN or anything that has a ticker on it is something I would say be aware of, like Bloomberg News or anything that has a ticker per se. Typically, they have a hard edge to it.
The big box of information comes out of the right, comes out of the left, comes out of the side. That's bad.
Notice that it's static. Usually, there'll be a bright line with a dark line right next to it. Typically, those are objects that don't move very much, and I prefer to have the whole screen moving with motion video.
You're not concerned about burn-in, but just actually exercising all the phosphors.
Totally. Even wear is what you're looking for, and having full screen video that's moving, rather than say, oh, the top 2/3 of the video is moving, but the lower third is maybe static information. That's kind of the content you want to avoid with a brand new set.
PBS, HBO, the infomercial channel, Discovery.
Any of your favorite movies. Looping those in a player for a few hours, or maybe when you go to bed, just do it at night only, and then turn the set off during the day, just to get it broken in a little bit. If you're really concerned about this, if this is even too much for you though, just stick to the movie mode or the preset home mode, and that will be pretty good overall. Try to watch widescreen content that fills up the whole picture. Try to avoid 4:3 content, the kind that has pillar bars on the sides where nothing is being displayed or just plain black. That would be a part of the screen that's not being used compared to the rest of the screen. So it's all about even wear. That's really what it comes down to. So choose content that keeps the screen moving. Try not to let it sit statically, at least in that intro break-in period. But again, compared to even a few years ago, today's TVs, plasma TVs in particular, the phosphors are a lot more robust. They put out even brighter colors, even better color in terms of accuracy, and they'll last a lot longer. And I wouldn't worry so much about the break-in, but like I said, if you're looking for the best possible picture quality, and if it's something you spent your hard-earned money on, you want to take care of it the right way, take care of it in those initial few hours.
Basically, LCD, don't calibrate it. Plasma, calibrate it if you're kind of getting your video geek on. Do it for 100 hours. Or excuse me, I should say not calibrate. Break it in. Break it in for 100 hours, then calibrate it.
Stick to that movie mode. It's something that's not as intense, say, as the store mode, which is typically your vivid or a dynamic mode that's just jacking up the brightness to grab your attention. This is not the case where you need to grab the attention of the owner. You have the TV. And the best way to take care of it is just to be easy on it during that first initial, say, 100 hours.
Easy on it? You just told me to run it for 100 hours playing my favorite movie.
That's fine. That's good. That keeps the whole screen moving, keeps those pixels recycling and nice and fresh. And it's really, but avoid static imagery like a stock ticker or a sports ticker or something like that where the whole screen's not moving.
Do we have to worry about burn-in, actual physical burn-in?
I haven't seen that in a long time. Any TV, LCD or plasma, can exhibit burn-in, where the screen has been fixed in a static image for so long that that image is retained even if the set's turned off. That can happen on any flat panel display. So it's a lot less of a problem than it used to be. And nowadays it's more about taking care of what you have, and at least during that initial period, if you want to be careful, don't leave a static picture on the screen, and that includes, like I said, even part of the screen that's not moving, like a ticker or something else.
So change your channels on a regular basis.
Do that. Mix it up a little bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you need a few more HDMI ports for your HDMI challenged HDTV or AV receiver. Mr. Heron's got two excellent options, one super affordable switch from Monoprice and one super deluxe model from the good folks at DVDO. Mr. Heron, what is the difference between a $100 and a $400 HDMI switch?
Features. It's all about what's integrated. The good folks at DVDO have a brand new product that we're looking at today called the Quick6. It's a 6x2 Ultra HD switcher with InstaPreview. It switches HDMI sources with the best of them out there while providing some very useful features for getting basically the most out of your classic home theater gear.
It's the extra stuff that's added onto this that actually makes it cool.
Totally. Things like, well, one, like any good switch out there nowadays for HDMI, it's going to have auto switching capabilities. This one will do it prioritized based on the port it's plugged into, or it has a cool feature I really appreciated called new sources, so that if something turns on within the connected available ports, it will just automatically switch to that. And then when it turns off, it goes back to a prioritized setting where, say, it'll dump all the way down to port number 1 to see what's available and still running and switch right back to that. ARC is built-in audio return channel, so it's really nice if you're using the over-the-air receiver in a brand new HDTV. This will allow you to return that audio signal and send that out to, say, your AVR, so you can have that support too. So integrated audio. This has that support. Also, it supports your 4K formats if you're looking to move into 4K eventually. This supports 4K resolution as well as MHL, the mobile high definition link for your mobile devices, and getting those connected as well and charged up.
The best thing on this, by far, InstaPort. InstaPort is so awesome.
InstaPort S. Now, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what the S stands for. I think it means sub-second switching times. That is really the neat thing here. Now, with this device, it maintains that HDCP authentication. It remains connected. As you plug a device in, it takes care of that connection right then and there, and it doesn't wait. Unlike just about every other switch out there, it won't wait until you switch to that port and then make the handshake, taking far longer. This gets it under a second.
There's a super short list of AV receivers that have licensed the InstaPort technology, which means boom, you switch to your Blu-ray player. Boom, you switch to your cable box. Boom, you switch to your Apple TV. It's instantaneous. The switch actually includes the InstaPort technology.
Sure does.
Which is so awesome.
That is one of the best things about it. A lot of TVs, like you said, are integrating this in there. Once you're able to move between your inputs at almost as fast as you want, it should be that way on every TV. So that's cool. The other neat thing is something called InstaPreview. Instead of, say, Input 1, Input 2, labels in terms of selecting which inputs you want to use on your connected devices, this actually will provide a thumbnail image. And I can just even hit the button, InstaPreview, boom. We only have a couple of connected devices right here right now, but of the 2 connected devices we currently have, we can do a thumbnail preview of each one. And then I can just simply, here, I'm going to go to the Blu-ray player real quick, select it.
Can I make the thumbnails any bigger?
No, and I will say, if there was one thing, that might be a good idea too, is to be able to have a larger thumbnail. Quick switching ability. Now, this is actually going through a switcher in the back as well, so it might be causing an extra little bit of delay, but that was fairly quick. And in this case, we have a Blu-ray player hooked up to it. There are 6 ports on the back of this. One of the cool deals with this is in dealing with older gear. Now, if you have an AVR that has no HDMI, this actually will take your audio sources that are connected via HDMI and allow you to select output for, say, optical or coaxial audio.
Oh, cool.
So, for your older gear, this is something that can upgrade it to add your HDMI ports, MHL support. You could even do 4K HDMI, yet still be able to send a digital or coaxial audio cable out to your older gear to keep it running the way it will. Now, for auto detect, of course, you're not going to be able to do auto detection over an optical cable or anything like that. That only will work with your HDMI connected devices. Also, this thing has 2 HDMI outputs. Now, normally, you could use this for, say, sending just the audio to the AVR and just the video to the TV, but there's also an HDMI mirror mode. This is really a scenario for if you're using something like a projector with your TV, and you could fire the signal to both of those devices simultaneously. That's almost like a matrix switch in that scenario right there. However, if you're dealing with devices that support different resolutions, only the highest common resolution and the audio capabilities will be shared across the dual output mode like that.
Good to know.
Pretty cool. Really, the bottom line is that this is one of the easier upgrades you can do to an AVR that is pre-HDMI, but it still has something like your digital or coaxial audio inputs. Now, there are other products out there that share some of the core features that this has, but the Quick6 has support for 4K, InstaPort, MHL, and InstaPreview. That really does kind of set it apart. And it's also a firmware upgradable product as well. So down the road, if they add new things like, I don't know, test patterns, or if there's something wrong with it, chances are the company's going to fix it and provide that update for it.
So $100 monoprice switch, what do you get?
Yeah, everything except like 4K support, like MHL.
Do you get InstaPort?
No, no InstaPort, no InstaPreview. All of that goes away. Okay. However, you have similar functionality in terms of being able to take a couple HDMI devices, as well as even other analog devices, and select what audio output you want for that. Say, coaxial output to an older AVR. Or later on down the road, you upgrade to HDMI or an HDMI receiver. You could then have that same switch over to providing HDMI audio output as well. A quarter of the price, but you'd lack all of the Insta technology, be it preview or port, in addition to things like MHL and 4K.
And I, of course, can add this into sort of my Harmony remote or my Universal remote or my home automation system.
Exactly. This also provides a serial port on the back as well. So if you're dealing with like Control 4 or other home automation products that require a serial connection, this has it in addition to being a CEC device for consumer electronic control.
And IR, so my plain old remote will work with it.
Totally.
Just checking.
And also, this does add picture-in-picture. That's something I almost always forget about, but if you're looking to add that feature back in and to be able to select any port on this basically to display a picture-in-picture mode, you can do that with the press of a button. And there's a dedicated button on here that allows you then to cycle through the picture-in-picture sources if you want. Oh, we have it in that corner.
Thumbs up?
I think this is a great product if it is something you've been waiting for. You have an AVR you don't want to touch. You want to just keep everything you have the way it is, but you need to add like HDMI, and you're looking forward to things like maybe InstaPort, InstaPreview, MHL and 4K, and this is all kind of the switching product you want. You just want to leave everything the way it is. This is something to look at. But also, Monoprice's product is a tempting price, and if the additional features aren't really what you need, that's something to consider too. Just on a value alone, that's it's worth checking out.
There you have it. It's a mixed week for new Blu-ray releases. Jack Reacher, the latest platform for Tom Cruise to behave all heroically, though he's, what, a foot shorter than the character in the novels. Looks gorgeous and sounds great on Blu-ray. Seriously, High Def Digest calls the transfer flawless and says stellar details still abound in this crisp film. They ain't kidding. I mean, if you want to get close with a magnifying glass, this is a movie to do it with. Of course, the movie gets hammered by the top critics to the tune of 38% on Rotten Tomatoes. The audience rating, a bit more generous, with 71%. No shock there. If you like Tom Cruise movies, you are good to go. The new Blu-ray release of The Great Escape does not fare so well. Blu-ray.com gives it a 2.5 for video quality. This is not a restoration, people. It looks to have been degrained for easier compression, and it's a 3-hour movie stuffed onto a BD50 along with 8 gigabytes of extra, which means they compressed the snot out of it. Other reviewers have noticed that it looks better than the DVD transfers, especially the color, but if you're looking for a Casablanca, Lawrence of Arabia, Wizard of Oz grade disc, you are not going to find it here. Still an enjoyable movie, just not the kind of enjoyable where you're looking at it and going, this is what it must have been like to see it in the cinema. On release, not going to happen. Other notable Blu-ray releases this week include An Officer and a Gentleman, Jesus Christ Superstar, and the ever so underrated charmer from Kevin Smith, Jersey Girl. You a fan of Jersey Girl?
I have not seen it.
I can't believe it.
I believe it.
A fine example of Ben Affleck and George Carlin in action.
Really?
George
Carlin?
George Carlin.
Okay.
He plays the dad in Jersey.
I am giving
They're
this...
street sweepers. You'll love it.
I'm checking it out.
You got a favorite Blu-ray you think is underappreciated? Email the info to hdnation@revision3.com and we will share it with the whole crew.
Hey, we got a couple of quick viewer questions before we go. Ricky writes in, hello Robert and Patrick. First, let me say I have been watching and following both of you since the screensaver days. My question is regarding viewing native 4K Ultra HD signals through a 4K panel. Is the only real way of watching this as of today is with a connected PC laptop with an HDMI port? Thank you and keep up the great work. Signed, Ricky. Yes.
Kind of. Until Sony releases their 4K player that won't work with non-Sony products in July-ish, yes.
Or you want an upscaling Blu-ray player, like the brand new Samsung 57,
That's not 4K content. That is 1080p upscaled to 4K.
There is no 4K there either. So we're waiting on real 4K content.
Yeah.
There's a handful of stuff you can buy from individual artists who are selling content on things like USB keys, but you would still need a computer to play back that kind of content anyway. Right. We're early in the game, so PCs currently are your most, I don't know, fulfilling set of 4K content you can currently buy today, but it's changing right now as we speak.
Which brings us to Junait's post on youtube.com/techfeed. I was looking forward to the Seiki review, but it seems that you are more concerned with gaming. I wanted to know how the picture looked with Blu-ray or cable TV. Could you possibly do a version for us simple folk who are just interested in watching movies, please? Love the new old format. More to the point, White Falcon 87 says, regarding the Seiki, how is the color accuracy, grayscale, shadow detail, light level performance? In my opinion, these are the most important parts of a television. So, okay, a couple things going on here. One, there is a dearth of ways to display 4K content, and one of the reasons we were heavy on gaming is because gamers are super excited about 4K gaming. There was insanity with Rev 3 Games crew crawling in to take a look at what stuff looked like. Anthony Carboni had to be pried away from the HDTV, the Seiki HDTV, the 4K UHDTV. But part of the reason it was so computer-centric is because it's the only way to get a movie onto it right now, unless you want to have it upscale 1080p. The scalers, the internal scaling on the Seiki HDTV, the 4K HDTV, not so bueno.
No. And also, when we were looking at input from PCs, when we adjusted the refresh rate, and this is one of the reasons we started with the PC anyway with that particular TV, was at 4K resolution, you're limited to a 30 hertz refresh rate, no faster. And for most of us who look at display technologies, that's not fast enough for most of what we do, except for video. For video, it's great, but for everything else, man, not so much. Also, with that particular TV, that overscan issue I harped on quite a bit, that 2% or so, that effectively cuts the resolution in half whenever you're improperly scaling any video signal. If I'm feeding it 1080p and I'm not able to scale it properly, I am potentially losing at least half of that picture in terms of overall detail. That's unacceptable. And that was really the key to that panel, is that 4K content on that TV looks great. Any other video we fed it really was substandard. Overscan's unacceptable nowadays from 1080p or any HD source for that matter. As far as color quality went though, and grayscale performance, not bad. I was surprised. The movie mode was well done from the factory. They tried before they shipped that panel. They didn't just shove it out the door, and that's always good to see. And my initial results from digging into the service menu, which you'll have to do if you really want to calibrate this for any decent kind of picture quality, is that when you're done calibrating it, you actually end up with slightly better color quality. You can massage this TV to be a little bit better than it is out of the box, but that takes the right tools and know-how and so forth. It is not the easiest TV I've ever had to work on because you are digging into some arcane settings and things that aren't. There's a little bit of a minefield scenario, really, because if you mess something up, it might reset the whole TV, and you kind of got to be willing and able to go ahead and recreate that factory setup.
So grayscale was acceptable.
Totally.
Color accuracy, once calibrated, was excellent.
Not bad.
Light level performance?
You know what? It has plenty of brightness. It is an edge-lit LCD technology, so I was immediately concerned about off-axis viewing. Suddenly the contrast would start to go. This isn't the worst set I've ever looked at. There are definitely better LCDs out there in terms of producing absolute black. Black is really what makes the picture punch. The darker it can be, the darker the representation of black, the better any picture is going to look, really. This one does an okay job for an edge-lit display. Not bad, especially considering the value and the performance and the resolution that you're getting from it.
I'm still waiting for 60 hertz. We got one last question about
Beyond
the Seiki.
60 at 4K. And we need new chipsets for that, and that's a different discussion.
And a new HDMI spec.
That might be the big story for this year in 4K, is really that we're limited to 30 hertz. We need to fix that. And
great for video, not so great for video games.
There you go.
One last question, Briggs83. I used to sell TVs and every Seiki model I sold was returned, usually because of audio or video issues. Is the build on the Seiki good? I'd say yes so far.
No big issues to report. The panel itself actually feels pretty rigid as far as overall construction went. Mounting of the base stand was a little iffy. There's definitely some flex to it. We need to have a segment about how to properly mount and secure an HDTV to a stand if you're not going to wall mount it. This would be one set where I would definitely say get that stand off there and hang it on the wall for a little additional safety. But
to put that into context, we've seen $3,000 HDTVs that look like someone went, you know, we got 2 popsicle sticks, we got to put a stand on this.
Oh, flimsy stands are my bane.
Wall mounting is always a good thing.
Definitely.
Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this episode of HD Nation Tech Feed Edition. Please subscribe to the Tech Feed to get our new show in your YouTube lineup, and tell us what you think down in the comments.
Hey, that's right. Please post any comments, questions, or suggestions down below. And until next time, thank you for watching.